Oh, see, even just talking about it, my cheeks are getting hot. Or is it the temperature in the room, maybe?
No, it's you.
It's Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
Yes. So, welcome to What Have You Been Reading, episode 23. My name is Alex,
I'm Carla.
and today we have Becca on with us. Thank you, Becca, for joining us from
Nebraska.
So I found, well, someone referred Becca to us because I have a friend who shall not be named,
Okay.
who reads a lot of smutty books, but was not comfortable coming on and talking about smutty books. So then she threw Becca under the bus.
I feel like that would have been a hilarious podcast of us making her, or me
Very
making her
uncomfortable.
very uncomfortable.
Possibly. But Becca was willing to come and talk to us, so thank you.
Yeah, and she is really fun to talk about smutty books with, so we won't name
No.
her, but
I'll just have to wait till we're in person. I don't get to see her as often out here in California. Becca, how long have you been reading smutty books for?
probably the last couple years I got really back into reading and like just rediscovered my love for reading, and now I'm an adult and there's so many smutty books out there. So
Yeah, I think I'm
yeah,
kind of in the
yeah, I read a
same,
lot.
I think I'm kind of in the same vein with kids and stuff. I kind of got over that initial hump of like them needing me 24/7. And I'm like, oh, I finally have a little bit of time again to do something. And I've always liked reading, so it was nice to kind of get back into that.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and I love to read a wide genre, but I love the smut. It's a good, good, easy read, and I just joined a smut book club a couple months ago. So
Did you
That
really?
exists? Oh,
Do you have
really?
a non-smut book club?
this is a smut book club that I'm in.
But
Do
do
you
you
I
like,
don't
do
have
you,
none. No,
okay, okay.
I'm not in another book club.
do you but you did you say you read other genres as well?
Yes. Yep. Yep.
And then
Yeah, I
what are your do you have certain go-to authors for smutty books?
Oh, for smutty books, like not so much. I feel like I have go-to authors for easy reads, like in between all the smut. So smut, I don't know. I love like I did ACOTAR, I did Onyx Storm, and those are like light smut, and so I've read a couple.
You? I know.
I
This is
told you
why
we
I
have
like smut. I
to me it's heavy smut.
well, because like even though I don't read smut and I don't know what's out there, I know there's more.
Well, yeah.
I know
Yeah.
there's
Yeah, I'll have to tell you my latest smut club reads because they are super good.
They're pretty hot and heavy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, see, even just talking about it, my cheeks are getting hot. Or is it the temperature in the room, maybe?
no, it's you.
It's
The one of them that I was reading recently, like I was meeting with a board of professional colleagues out in my professional world, and they're like, "What are you reading?" And I'm like, "I
I
cannot
can't
tell you."
talk
And they're
about
like,
it.
"No, just tell us. Like we love smut." And I'm like, "It's like I
No.
was just like red and sweating, but I'm like, you guys are professional." They took the recommendation,
Oh,
so
Okay,
okay.
so let's just dive in. So, what is your latest smut book about?
my very latest smut book, one that I would have never picked out, but it was for my book club, Done and Dusted by Lila Sage. Dog has to make an
Well,
appearance.
she brought up a dog.
I
But
know.
also, maybe
Oh, okay.
I keep seeing that one come up
Yeah,
on
I would have.
Instagram a lot.
Yes, and I would have never picked this, like not my thing. Like I totally judge a book by its cover. And
I do
so,
too. And I wouldn't read
yeah,
that.
so no, I would never. I would never, but I read it and it is so good. And it's not super smutty. Like the scenes are like insanely smutty, but there's a storyline in this one, and so I liked that. If you're looking for hardcore smut, I was on
I don't
Goodreads and I
know.
saw, I know you should try this. I
Oh,
found this book called Axes and O's, and it's about a lumberjack couple.
oh
And I'm
my
gonna
dog.
say,
I was picking up um I was picking up a prescription and I was texting with my best friend Mike
Hmm.
because there was this dude and he walked by me and I was like, holy fuck, that's like he looks like he could be a lumberjack and I was
What
very
was he
interested
hot?
in that. I don't remember. I remember being insanely attracted to him.
Is he
Yes.
wearing flannel?
I don't remember. Fuck, this guy looks super hot. And I texted my best friend and I was like, oh my God, Mike. Yeah.
So
Okay, go ahead.
I love it. Well, this one is X's and O's is like very light on the storyline. Like there is a storyline and it is heavy on the imagery. So if you're into the lumberjack thing,
So is it
I had
just
no
like,
idea.
is it just nonstop sex scenes?
pretty much it gets pretty hot and heavy pretty quick. It's also a couple, like a male and a female couple, and then another man that gets stranded on the side of the road. So we're talking all
A
three.
threesome.
Yeah,
So there's a lot
yeah,
of wood in this folder.
a lot. Yeah. A cabin, it's winter, they got to stay
I
warm.
love
I
it.
do love mountains. Do you read at home? Like, how do you read these smutty books? Do you have to be alone? Can you read them on the couch while your kids are next to you?
Yeah, I can read them on the couch while my kids are next to me, but sometimes I'm like, oh, like this is a lot. Like I'm starting to feel uncomfortable. Luckily, they're young enough that they don't ask a whole lot. Sometimes I have a 7-year-old daughter and she'll be like, Mommy, what are you reading? And I'm like,
Yeah,
oh, this is a really
It's about
sweet
cabins.
story.
I
Yeah,
kind of learned
cabin
that
in the
not,
woods.
I wasn't reading a super smutty book at the time, but like my kid was next to me and was like, oh, what is like, why are they doing this, this, and this? And I was like, oh shit, they're like totally reading over my shoulder. And I'm like, oh yeah, I can't.
Oh, no.
Thankfully, it wasn't like a bad scene, but it made me aware of, oh, I can't read those kinds of books next to my kids anymore. Like
You
maybe
have
when
to be up against like a wall. So, so nobody can come up upon you.
Yeah,
I've seen a lot of
yeah.
like reels on Instagram of bookstagrammers and women like walking through Target while they're listening to like their super smutty books, and like trying to not make eye contact with people. Do you listen to audiobooks as well?
I listen to audiobooks, but truthfully, I do a lot of nonfiction audiobooks instead of like fiction or smut. So there's never really that, going on. But I listen to it in the car a lot. And sometimes the nonfiction I'm reading still has a lot of like, you know, I don't know, a lot of cussing or something. So I'm like, oh, turn the volume down when I park.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
no,
there's
I'm
no
not a
language
huge.
that no language that makes you uncomfortable in a book.
I'm curious about what nonfiction you're reading that has a lot of cursing.
Um, we're
Like
talking like
memoirs?
historical, like race in America, like
Right.
yeah. And so sometimes they will reference things, and I'm like, oh God, turn it down. Like that's not what I'm.
Cover your ears.
I'm sorry, what was your question?
Um, oh yeah, is
Language.
there any level of smut that you feel uncomfortable with?
No, like I was getting vetted for my book club, and they were like, do you have trigger warnings? And I'm like, well, I don't love when children die. But like I'll read it. Like I read The Last Letter by Rebecca Yarros. I'm like, oh, I like that's one of my favorite books. But I'm going in, but one of the non-consensual, and I'm like, like I'll read it. I can do it. But yeah,
Yeah.
comfortable talking about it for sure.
Yeah, I can't do it. Where
No?
where do you draw? Do you draw lines, Carla? You don't draw lines.
I well, remember May Fly, they were talking about fucking with an egg, and I did not like
Yeah.
that.
Mm.
I read it, but I didn't like I got no enjoyment
Yeah.
from it. I don't think that that book was meant to be smut though. I think it was meant to be just like shocking and just
Yeah.
in general. Um I don't think I draw lines, but I do have certain things that I don't like. I mean, and I've not really delved into this kind of world. Like I literally just started reading ACOTAR because of book club and
Yeah.
then because of
This.
this conversation that we're having here. No, the conversation that we're having in general.
Yes.
But like it's not my genre. So
Yeah.
I haven't really found where my line is.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I have found that like I don't think that things are shocking. I just think that some of the language can be repetitive
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
C dash O dash C dash K.
no, just like they're always like specifically for like for example, I want to say ACOTAR 2 and ACOTAR 5. it's very much the same in terms of like the apex of her thighs. And it's like, it's always the apex. It's always the little bundle of nerves. It's always the bud.
Oh, like the
And
terminology.
yeah, and well, like the
Yeah.
terminology is also kind of gross.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy that.
Yeah.
But I also see that it's not like she's gonna be writing clit every single, you know.
So the one that I texted you about this week that I was reading, and it said, what did she say? I clenched my pussy. And I did not like that, but it also did give me a very clear indication of what was happening.
Yeah.
But it made me feel icky.
I feel like maybe pussy is more out there to me than cock.
Yeah.
Like cock just is just like
Yeah.
run of the mill, just like pepper it into every single conversation you could have. I'm fine with that.
Yeah. My cheeks are still burning.
But like but the word pussy, like you don't hear it as much.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's because maybe we're not in the circle of friends that say that word as often or ever.
Maybe. I guess maybe there's people that use it all the time.
Is there?
Becca,
Not
are
a word
are
I
we
use
missing
very
out?
often.
Are we
No.
just missing
No.
out?
I also get uncomfortable. Like there was one advanced reader copy that I got that they sent me over, and it was like right off the bat, very like dirty talk, a lot of dirty talk between the two characters, and I can't do that either.
Yeah,
Thoughts?
I don't love that unless it's like relevant to the story. Yeah. No,
Like it
it's
just
weird.
it
Like the book I
Can
just
I
read,
get an
Done and Dusted,
example?
like uh, this book I'm just reading, like he called her sugar a lot, and it's like he was calling her sugar like in plain speak when they're just hanging out in the bar, but then he's also saying it while they're having sex, and I'm like, just not my thing. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. And like it's fine, but not needed.
Yeah. No, I'm trying to think. I can't think of a specific example, but I don't
Okay.
know, like bossing each other around in bed and like put your cock in my mouth. You know, like something like that. I'm like, ew, I don't.
You didn't spell it out.
I know, but
Yay.
it's progress. You wanted an example. I gave
Is
an
that
example.
bossing you around though?
I mean, you're telling me what to do.
Yeah, but like you're just providing instruction.
Yes.
Unless you're saying it with a tone, like a mean
I
tone,
read it with a
a
tone.
dominatrix tone.
I guess I imply a tone.
Okay. Why? What if it's not supposed to be a tone? What if it's supposed to be like,
Give me a nicer tone. How would you say that in a nice tone?
Could you please open your mouth?
There you go. See?
well, okay.
So like that, any kind of like hair pulling is fine. I'm okay with that. But I think anything beyond that, I start feeling a little uncomfortable. And that's where I'm like, is it me? Maybe I'm a little too like prudish.
Do you like reading it?
No,
No, like
Oh,
it makes you
no.
uncomfortable.
Yeah, I've gotten to the point in some books where I will kind of start skipping over some scenes.
Really?
Yeah, I know. And then I'm like, I don't know, maybe it's not a genre for me, but then I enjoy the storyline. I just sometimes don't
Yeah,
enjoy.
you don't need it.
maybe
Yeah.
you need immersion therapy.
I'll have to bring
And
Jeff
in
into the
that case,
conversation. I think Jeff would be more
have
than
you read
happy.
have you read The Women by Kristen Hanna?
I have not.
Okay. So like that was one that I read, historical fiction, amazing story, like one of
I
my
love her
top reads
books. I've
last
read
year.
some of her other stuff. I just haven't had a chance to read that one, but I've read The Nightingale, The Four
Yep.
Winds. I feel like there's another one of hers that
I
I've read.
haven't read anything.
She's a great
Oh,
historical
so
fiction
good.
author. Yeah.
She is. Well, so I read it and then I lent it to my mom. And like here I thought my mom was reading smut all along. Like she's always got these trashy looking romance novels. Well, she comes back and she's like, yeah, too many sex scenes for me. And I'm like,
In
oh, like
historical
it's
fiction?
It's like Vietnam War,
yeah,
right?
like she falls in love and there's sex scenes throughout it, but they're not like they're pretty vanilla in my opinion. And I'm like, that was too much. Like, okay, that's fine. But it's there. So like if it's there, are you okay with that? Or are you like,
Like
I don't
generally,
need that?
I can handle like some sex scenes, like yeah, but I feel like I can't go very
And I just don't understand that because you're in such a romantic, like, genre of
yeah.
books.
And I think maybe it has also been through time. I feel like maybe it was easier for me to read them before, and now they're not, which maybe I don't know what happened, but I like a good rom-com.
Yeah.
I liked ACOTAR, and what was that? Book five was the one that was pretty racy. See, that one I had an issue with,
Yeah.
right? Because
Really?
dick is so big, and it's like, can
Yeah,
she handle it, and can she take it in her mouth? And it was a little bit much for me. I think maybe that's what started it.
really?
I think it was book five that
Hmm.
maybe started it
I
for
loved that
me.
book. That was a good one.
Yeah. And I think that's the book that maybe we were discussing where we realized that your level and my level are different.
Yeah, yeah.
Because to me, I think that's like the height of what I will enjoy.
I felt like it was just okay, they're having sex.
Yeah.
Cool. Good for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Becca, you loved it.
I did. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like it gets redundant, but like, yeah, I loved,
That's what I'm saying. It's
yeah.
super repetitive, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Except for the
Yeah.
wings. I oh.
I know. I know. All
Like,
my coworkers and I read it at the same time, and we were like, the coworkers who have not read it, they're like, you like reading this fairy smut and stuff about the wings, and we're like, I think the story's really good. Like the story is good. You just have to like pretend like
story,
they don't
yes.
have wings.
I mean, we had a whole
But
episode where we discussed the logistics of like flying and having sex and how that works.
I know. I know.
I mean,
Yeah. I
how
have to like,
physically.
yeah.
But like, yeah, it didn't bother me.
Yeah.
I'm not bothered by reading it. I just I do see that it's kind of like at some point we have to come up with a new word. We have to come up with a different way of writing the sentence, maybe. I don't know. And then I do know, I remember I told you that I read that book Flock by Kate
Hmm.
Stewart, and that one was uncomfortable, not because of the sex that was happening within the book, but because of the way that it came about.
Yeah.
Like it felt manipulative, and that's what I didn't like. So it's not the sex that makes me get like not cool with
Yeah.
it. It's the way that it's introduced into the storyline, I guess. Um, like yeah, this girl had no chance of not getting involved and having her head like all fucked with.
Yeah.
So I didn't like that. And I think that that has something to do with like the non-consensual stuff that you said that you're gonna like be diving into. I would probably not have a problem with the sex that's happening. I would have a problem with why it's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with that. Like we talked in our last book club, like, or a couple book clubs ago, like I appreciate that there's so much like talk in more modern literature about consensuality or like they're getting tested all the time for STDs or they always have a condom. They're
Every
always
time there's
talking
a
about it.
condom, which I find very surprising.
I don't care about that.
But like
I
sometimes I'm
just
like, just get into it. Like we don't have to like talk about all this like, oh yeah, I just got tested 2 weeks ago, so I'm good. Oh yeah, I was just tested too after my last partner. And I'm like, okay, like just read for the sake of reading. Like we don't need to like I mean it's great. I think it's great that there's like consent and all
Like
of that.
social
And it is
responsibility almost in like writing these books.
yeah, yeah. And it's like great, but I'm like, okay, we said that the first time. Or I read like a Christmas book over the winter that was this girl who was a former porn star and now she's like starring in basically like a Hallmark movie. And it's like just all the talk about like the consensuality and the protection. And I'm like, okay, we got it. Like,
We
that's
get it.
great. I'm glad you're doing all the things. Appreciate it. But like, let's just get to the scene.
Let's just get to the sex. Let's get to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
fair, fair, yeah.
Are there, do you come across a lot of like smut that has non-consensual sex?
Not really. Like, I feel like thinking back, it's kind of just no, I haven't like dove into it very much, but I remember reading like 50 Shades of Grey and having conversations like, okay, was that appropriate? Like she was consenting. so I feel like there's a line there. I did just read a book called Still Beating, and that one starts out like really messed up, non-consensual, like these two people are kidnapped, and then, they escape, and what
Carla's
happens
face.
after that. It's good. It's a really good book. But there's definitely scenes where it's like non-consensual rape happening. But like I
Mm,
loved the book.
yeah.
So not that I like enjoyed those scenes by any
Yeah.
means, but I'm like, okay, this is the story of like someone getting kidnapped and this is what happens. And then what happens later like relates back to this circumstance that happened. And like them working through the trauma of it. And I feel like there was good like, the mental health notes the whole way, like very conscientious of that. But it's hard because it's like, okay, but I enjoyed the book. Like, is it okay to still enjoy the book? And I think
I
that's
mean,
fair.
yeah, that's another
And I
conversation. Is it okay to enjoy these books where it's like,
Yeah, and I think it's like knowing your trigger warnings for sure. Um, and not reading something if you know that that's a trigger for you.
I don't even know what book this is, but remember that I showed you that one girl who was talking, it was like her face and it was like a grimacing face. And in the information it said that she had been reading about a guy who had taken out this girl's eyeball and was fucking her eye socket.
Ew.
Mm.
I know. So see, that's why I also know that they like my jalapeno poppers are nowhere near those jalapeno poppers that I'm not
See,
reading
that's not
those.
jalapeno popper. We decided jalapeno poppers are cutesy. That's like a
Mm.
dirty.
Somebody likes that shit. Somebody likes eye fucking.
That's ick. Like, will I
She
read
was
it if
into
it's a
it
good book?
apparently. How?
Ew.
Ooh.
And also
Yeah,
like
no.
and also like your eye socket is not that large.
So do you think there's a level, right? So we're talking about different levels and what we're comfortable with,
I don't
where it
like
becomes wrong. Like, do you think
torturing
do you think
porn.
the socket part should be wrong? Or you
Like
think
you
that's
know,
just it's fine. It's fine if that's your thing.
it's not fine. I don't think eye socket fucking is fine. That's where I draw my line. But like, okay, so like I've had conversations about food where I'm like, I'm just so freaking tired of always eating the same thing. We need to find a new animal. Like I feel like that's how they felt about women's holes. We need to find
Ew.
a new hole. So this guy popped out an eyeball and went into her eye
Ew, ew,
socket.
How
ew.
do I make this unique?
No. So that's what I
No.
think was happening in that author is that maybe she's just also tired of chicken and cow and pork.
Decided on an eye socket.
She was not being repetitive. So,
Yeah, I mean you haven't used that word to describe it, so.
You know what? I just thought of
yeah.
something disgusting.
Oh, Carla.
Ugh.
Are you ready for it? It's the word squelch.
Oh.
I hate it.
Yeah, are there any terms, Becca, that give you the ick that you see repeated a lot?
Can't think of any off the top of my head because I feel like I just like read through it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the baby name calling, like whatever. I can take it or leave it when it's like a
That
big,
does
strong man.
that is a red flag for me. I hate it when they're like, "Hey, baby." I'm like, don't.
All the
Don't
time.
say it like
Like,
that.
Hey, baby.
yeah, like
Don't
throw
look
it
at
in there
me when
once,
you're saying
fine.
it either.
After I've went to a dark room.
She like closed the blinds earlier and the light was off, and I was like, Alex,
Let's talk
it's
smut.
it's just not gonna work, Alex.
Oh
Yeah.
God. Yeah, other than
I don't
that,
like
like,
those terms either.
yeah, I feel like sometimes I probably just like make a face, like I'm like, then I just, like keep going.
I
Better
know
though
that
if
I
I'm
just
reading the book with a partner.
what's that?
I said better if I'm reading the book like with a partner or a friend at the same time so we can talk about it. But yeah. Ugh.
And
You think so?
yeah, we should read a disgusting book
Uh-huh.
together.
Maybe Becca can recommend one for it.
Yeah.
I
I'm
mean, if
trying to
you like,
decide yeah, I'm trying to decide if this is something I need to work through or accept.
You don't have to work through anything that you don't want to.
yeah. Well, I feel like it's like,
Like
what is your
What is
reason
it?
for reading?
it's like my escapism and I enjoy it.
Mhm.
If you don't enjoy reading the word cock, then by all means don't.
Yeah.
But also, if you want to like get like all squiggly with me, then do.
I also, so I was talking to a couple other friends about this. I can't remember what we were reading recently, but romantic, and there's a character in there, and like I'm just not into like blonde men. Like I'm just into like I know, what I'm attracted to. So I feel like in the book that I'm reading, where there's a blonde guy, I'm picturing him as how I want to picture him so that I can be attracted. And I feel like same for the sex scenes or same for the words. Like just read through it and like replace it with the terms that you would want to see. And you cringe a little bit, but it's
Oh,
like you can make it more attractive for you.
that's interesting. Carla's shaking
Yeah.
her head, yes.
It can be a regular person having sex instead of an eye socket.
Yeah. And like I pretty much ignored the wings in the ACOTAR series. Like, yeah, they're there, they have them, there's a reason, but like when
I
they're doing all
could
the scenes,
not ignore the wings. I couldn't do it because they kept telling me about the freaking talons that sit atop the
I know.
wings, and that like added an extra layer of just disgusting. Like, I am sorry. Like, all I could think about was just like getting out a fucking nail file and just being like, oh, it just
I know. I'm
grossed
like,
me
how is there
out.
room for
And
this?
then knowing that Tamlin's freaking like hands become claws, gross,
I know,
gross.
I know.
Miss
I
Mail.
just block it out in my mind. I'm like, I love these
Yes.
characters so much, so I just have to picture them as like what I want.
Also, I didn't like Lucian's like zzz.
And that
Oh, I
has
know.
nothing to do with
It's you in the eyes.
his squiggly
God.
eye. So, Becca, what are some of your top reads? Do you have
Top
some that you
reads.
could
Like,
recommend off the top of your head?
yeah, okay. Well, you read ACOTAR. I loved that. I loved Last Letter by Rebecca Yarros. I've been really into Kristen Hanna lately. Do you want smut reads or do you want just my general? Like,
Smut. I'm talking about smut. I'm trying to see if I need to
okay.
explore these
Have
feelings and
you read The
topics.
Things We Left? Yeah, The Things We Left Behind by Lucy Score. That's a good
No.
series. And that's a
Oh,
good like immersion
series?
into it.
Is it a finished series?
It's a finished series. There's three books and they
Accepted.
look really long. But like read the first book and the
Yeah.
second book goes into characters that were like side characters from the first book. Like
You
you can
love
read
that
the first
shit.
one as a
I do love that
yeah.
shit.
She loves that.
Mhm.
And it's like good hometown sweet romance. All the issues come up and then there's sex scenes. Like there's a lot of blowjobs and a
Yeah,
lot
I
of sex.
love small town romance. Take me to a little small
Perfect.
town. Take me to a lake
But
house.
has blowjobs.
It's okay. But is he saying,
They're
oh, my cock in
warranted.
your mouth? What's that?
I mean, it gets a little dirty, yeah, but
Yeah.
it's like pretty vanilla, you know?
Okay. All right. All right. I'll dip my toe
Like
into
there's
that.
nothing dark. Yeah, it's good. This Done and Dusted series, really good. And like I was waiting for the smut scenes, and I feel like it was all pretty straightforward.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that book because I have seen it come up a lot. And then I'm like, I'm not reading that. Like just looking at the cover, I'm like, it looks so cheesy.
I'll look it
I
up
know, and
again.
I'm not into like a Western, but I loved it. It was a
Is it a
5 stars.
series?
Yeah, I think there's 3 or 4 books, and I'm gonna
Okay,
have to
because I feel like
check.
I've seen it a couple different
Yeah,
covers.
because it ends like it has a
Yeah.
like a teaser for the next book, and it's some of the characters. It's another like small town, and then the side characters become the next books.
He has very luscious hair in
Yeah,
the,
he does.
yeah,
It's
like
not blonde.
that hat, I'm surprised it can stay on.
I'm trying to
I
think if
like
there's
I'm not into the cowboys. I'm not into the westerns, but it was so good. So good.
there is a book that I keep seeing. Oh, we're almost out of time. How did that happen?
Look at this. Swift and Saddles.
Swift and Saddled. What are some? I feel like there's one book that I keep seeing that looks very, very
She's come undone.
smutty. She has come undone.
Her boob is almost out. Look at that. Oh, you can't really see it.
Oh, dang. Yeah. Risque.
Oh man, I wish I knew what this book was to see if you read it. The cover looks very slutty.
Lost and lassoed.
Yeah,
Eh.
girl.
Where do you find your smut reads?
Oh, my Smut Book Club, those girls have really good recommendations. Otherwise, I just get on the Google machine, or I'm looking on Goodreads at the smut books that I have read and the things that you like. I mean, and I read reviews, but I get a lot of recommendations from friends. I have a lot of friends
Yeah.
that read like darker stuff or they read smutty stuff. So I feel like I have good groups of people to
What
kind of
is
reach out
what is
to.
what do you mean when you say darker stuff?
Like Haunting Adeline is darker. Still Beating was darker. Like if you're not into smut, I wouldn't go into like a dark smut read. I feel like that's gonna bother you.
Okay.
Um, but like the Lucy Score series, that is like your romance, small town, like wraps you in with the story, and then there's a whole bunch of sex, and that's great.
Okay.
I'm trying to
What
find
else?
this
I mean,
book.
otherwise, I'm really into just like Emily Henry reads or like Frida McFadden for a mystery. Like those are just good like palate cleansers. There's not gonna be any scenes.
So do you read the books that have covers like these, like the guy that's got his shirt?
No, but I've been recommended a few and I haven't done it yet.
Okay.
My best friend has read some of those and recommends them.
Was it Deep End by Ali Hazelwood? Maybe is one that I've seen come up.
I've seen that one come up too. I would read that.
Yeah.
Have you read that?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
I think Ali Hazelwood can be pretty smutty.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Smutty for you or smutty for me?
Maybe smutty. I don't know. Now I've lost
If
all
you're
sense
into the
of
heavy smut but not dark, you should try out Axes and O's. It's
yeah.
I'm not really
hot.
into
It's
smut.
hot. No? What's your
It's
genre?
not like I said, I had never read this kind of book before. So for me, this is kind of like, I, I don't know that I would read these books if I wasn't like talking to Alex about them.
Carla reads
Yeah,
like darker books and a
yeah.
lot of short
A
stories.
lot of short stories. I like horror and I like mystery. I like
Okay.
thriller. So this is like my first, like I'm dipping my toe into this, and
Mhm.
I'm not sure that it's for me.
Yeah, I'm like, I
That's
feel like
okay.
I haven't done horror. Like, I love mysteries and thrillers. That's like my go-to before smut, but like, I love when it's mixed together. But horror is something that I haven't dabbled in. And I'm
Mhm.
like, I feel like I'm getting there. And then it's like
Ooh.
tied into the smut. So,
Oh.
Ooh,
yeah, like I'm into that.
Wait,
awesome.
Like,
so
Haunting
are you
Adeline,
talking about
like, mhm.
supernatural fucking?
I
Is
think
there a
Have you
ghost
read
involved?
Have you read, what are the two books? There's Verity by Colleen Hoover, but there was another one that I read that was really similar. And it was like ghosts falling in love, and they weren't having sex like in their ghost selves, but it was like while they were alive, there were scenes, and then somebody dies, and then there's this weird psychological stuff happening. Yeah,
I don't know. I can't follow that. I don't know what
I
that
know.
means.
I know. I can't like
Okay.
give it away.
I just don't want, I don't want, I don't want to, I don't want to read Frankenstein
Yeah, true.
doing anybody.
But you did do the fairies.
But I had a problem with it.
Did you read
Just
Fourth
be
Wing?
humans? Can we just be humans? Huh?
I know. I know. You read Fourth Wing, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That one didn't seem like I didn't feel like it was smutty.
it's got some
Yeah, I
sex in
agree.
It has sex scenes, but that doesn't mean it's smut.
it.
Yeah.
I
I'd
don't
say it's
like,
got a
I mean, I'm reading Iron Throne right now, and they were just in that throne room and he just went down on her. I don't think that's smut. I think that's just a sex scene within a
that's
book.
true. I guess what's the difference
Yeah.
between
I think
I
that
agree.
sometimes books just have sex in them and it's not necessarily like it's just that is a fantasy story that happens to have two people that every now and then fuck.
yeah. So what then I guess is the definition of a smut book
I think that it is based on sex and then the storyline goes
goes
around it.
around it.
That's like X's and O's. And that was the first book that I read that was just like, I'm like, oh, there's hardly any story. It's just
Mm.
so many scenes. And that's fine, but like,
It's fine. We like to say that on this podcast all the time. It's fine.
Yeah.
And it's fine.
Whatever floats your boat.
But see,
Except
I don't like eye
Right.
fucking or claws or talons
Yeah.
or tails. And that
lattes and
that thing that you showed me earlier with the underbite fangs coming up, I would have a problem with that.
legends and lattes.
Yes, I would have a problem with those little mini tusks going upward or coming downward.
Yeah. Well, I think we are running out of time. Becca, thank you so much for being on What Have You Been Reading?
Yeah.
Thank you for trying to guide us through the waters of smut talk and levels of smuttiness. Well, thank you so much, Becca. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Everybody
Enjoy.
can't wait to hear what smut everyone else is reading.
Tell us all about it.
Conversation on
Yeah, send
Instagram at What
recommendations.
Have You Been Reading? Happy reading, everybody.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, Becca. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.